This presentation describes the process of coding qualitative data to enable its analysis for your evaluation. If your interview transcripts are added to your summary of a focus group discussion and documentary evidence, you will end up with a lot of unstructured data on the left of the slide that needs translating into your evaluation findings on the right. So how do you go about translating this mass of data into qualitative findings for your evaluation? A common method for analysing qualitative data that you can have a go at within this course is thematic analysis. This involves identifying and describing explicit and implicit ideas or themes within the data. The contribution of qualitative analysis to the evaluation of an intervention might be to provide a description of the intervention and its main components, give an account of its implementation, so how it worked in practice, describe stakeholders' views on barriers and facilitators to its implementation, and generate some policy implications or recommendations for your organisation. There are 5 stages of thematic analysis that can be applied to the analysis of qualitative data such as interviews. The first stage is to familiarise yourself with the data. I won't talk about this stage in any detail, as all it really means is to read through your interview transcripts or other forms of data and make sure you have a general impression of the data before you start the analysis. The second stage involves coding or labelling the data. The third involves grouping codes into themes. The fourth involves charting or tabulating the data from all of your interviews so that it is organised into these different themes. The final stage is interpretation and comparison, in which you describe the significance of each theme for evaluating the intervention and also look for patterns or relationships across your interviews and themes. Okay, so assuming you are familiar with the general content of the interviews, the second stage is to code or label your data. This involves attaching ideas represented by labels to pieces of text in your interviews. That is a formal way of saying that you should read through the transcripts thoroughly and annotate them in order to summarise key ideas that are being discussed by each interviewee. So what might you code or pick out from your interview data? You might code issues that are repeated frequently by the interviewee. Anything that is surprising or unusual to you. This might be an impact of the intervention that you had not anticipated. Metaphors and analogies used by the interviewee that often tell you something about how they make sense of their world, what is meaningful to them, and how different aspects of the intervention may have affected them. Similarities and differences, particularly when looking across your interviews. Do some stakeholders' views clearly contrast, for example? Add any points that are emphasised by the interviewee as being particularly important. The approaches to coding discussed so far are more inductive, as they are led by the words in the transcript in front of you. However, you can also code deductively by coding data because it relates to existing ideas that you have. So you could look for ideas in the transcript that speak to your evaluation or research questions. You might go through each interview using the headings from your topic guide, for example, and pick out ideas in the interviews that are particularly relevant to those topics. It could be that what the interviewee says resonates with evidence from related interventions that have been reported in previous studies. Or you might feel that what the interviewee says resonates with an existing concept or theory, perhaps a particular theory of innovation. In reality, most analyses will involve both deductive and inductive approaches, as you probably want to evaluate your evaluation to what is already known, but also allow yourself to be led and surprised even by the new data that you have collected.